On this week's show of The Overtime, we take a look back at NAU's down-to-the-wire game for the Grand Canyon Trophy against Southern Utah. We also look back on NAU's men's basketball season as they're going into their last game of the regular season and how they'll do in the upcoming playoffs. For our local high schools, we get into Flagstaff Eagles girls soccer as they enter their last game of the season, as well as the Eagles boys wrestling and how they are soaring this season. All of that and more on this edition of The Overtime. Thank you for joining us this evening, and welcome to this edition of The Overtime, Northern Arizona's only sports show. I'm your host, Tyler Murphy, accompanied by reporter Will Hopkins. Will, are you ready to hop into this week's show?
Thanks, Tyler. Let's get right into this week's action.
Right off the bat, the NAU football team is off to a 1-0 start to the season after their too close for comfort game win against Southern Utah. Will, what can you tell us about this game?
Tyler, this was quite the game. The Lumberjacks managed to squeak past the Southern Utah Thunderbirds, pulling off a last-second touchdown as the Lumberjacks were victorious 34-33. Led by transfer quarterback Keondre Wudtee, who passed for 252 yards, the Lumberjacks' passing was a big reason for their success as they only managed 42 rushing yards. The team was also helped by a pick six from Cam Hightower in the second quarter. Sports reporter Hannah Ware sat down with both Coach Chris Ball and starting quarterback Keondre Wudtee to get the latest scoop on choosing Keondre to take the place of former quarterback Case Cookus.
NAU football kicked off their season on February 27, 2021. Although the previous quarterback Case Cookus graduated, they have a new starting quarterback Keondre Wudtee, and were more than prepared to face off against the Southern Utah Thunderbirds. Coach Chris Ball is more than confident in his pick of Keondre, seeing that him and his team all saw him as a leader.
Maturity, real mature, extremely intelligent, a guy that knows the offense as good as anybody, a good leader, not necessarily a vocal leader, but a quiet leader. We had team interviews. I talked to every player after fall ball and asked them, who do you see as a leader on this football team? Every one of them said Keondre Wudtee.
Keondre barely saw the field last year due to an injury that took him out of last season. After a long recovery, he says he's more than ready to return. Keondre says he is glad to be back on the field putting in the hard work.
I'm finally healthy, so that's the good note. Just staying healthy, that's my biggest concern this year, and just getting all those reps in practice.
Although he is very talented, his team. Fortunately, with good connection between him and the offense, he was able to make a winning touchdown as there were only seconds left on the clock. Keondre says he is proud of his team as they come from behind to beat the Thunderbirds in the fourth quarter.
It felt good, trailing the whole game and just overcoming adversity throughout the whole game and just coming out on top.
Next up for this team is a trip to Eastern Washington, who lost a close game against Idaho in week 1 of the season. The Lumberjacks are definitely looking forward to next week, trying to add another game into the win column and keeping the undefeated season rolling along. Moving along onto NAU's men's basketball season. The Lumberjacks are currently 5-15 and 4-10 in the conference play, while also looking forward to the Big Sky tournament. Will, what can you tell us that's not on the surface of this team?
Well, Tyler, this team hasn't been able to get back on track after missing 5 straight games due to the coronavirus. Since coming back, they've dropped 4 straight, but the Lumberjacks now get a week off to work the kinks out prior to the start of the Big Sky tournament. In their last 4 games, the team has given up an average of 86 points, a far cry from the 68 points they were giving up before those 5 games. The team will have a tough schedule in the tournament as they finished second to last in the conference with a 4-10 record during conference play. However, with multiple players having to miss time throughout this season, there may be reason for the Lumberjacks to be optimistic as the postseason looms large.
Well, you can throw everything out the window when the Lumberjacks hit the postseason, because their record before won't matter as it's all or nothing in the tournament. Coming up, we will be looking into all high school sports. Stay with us.